Oye, mi gente, Dímelo, mi gente. Welcome back to the second season of Oye, mi gente podcast. Thank you so much for sticking with us and tuning in. This is Viv Moran. I'm a multimedia artist from South Jamaica, Queens, and your favorite tia. At this moment, I would like to start us off with our daily affirmation. I want to invite you all, my beautiful gods and goddesses who tune in every week. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. I invite you to join in as well. Affirmation. I believe in my skills and talent. Now that we have charged our inner spirit crystals, I will now introduce our guest, Bianca Giovanna of PeruvianDurags. Mixed media artist Bianca Giovanna, professionally known as PeruvianDurags, is a native of Los Angeles. PeruvianDurags recently moved onto her family's farm in the mountain region of the desert, where her family have been landowners for nearly a century. As a mixed media artist, this move was necessary in order to further her exploration of her Blackfoot and Peruvian Andean ancestry. PeruvianDurags creates artwork to heal the tattered aspects of her people. Her clothing, paintings, photography, film, music, and sculpture are reflective of the spiritual and symbolic artistry of ancient Indigenous warrior masks that gives us, the viewer or wearer, strength and or grounded sense of self. The colors she creates in her paintings and clothing come from her 2,000-year-old ancestral practice and or mythology of crusting, the color formation of rocks, combined with a binder to connect and create a connection with the essence of the people that surround her during the moment of creation. PeruvianDurags believes that learning and teaching is fluid and thereby in constant flux. As a result, she can often be found teaching battered men and women calm through art therapy and impromptu light art performances. In her spare time, PeruvianDurags teaches healing arts to mentally compromised LA youth. Hi, Bianca. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. How are you feeling?
Wonderful. I feel blessed to be here and a part of this show and sharing space with you.
I'm so happy to have you here. I've been trying to connect with more people from Peruvian ancestry because I feel like, growing up, there wasn't much of representation.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you. Especially, growing up in LA, where the only Latinos that you would see over here were Mexicans or people from El Salvador or Guatemala. Nobody ever knew what Peru was, what a Peruvian was. People would always ask me if I spoke Mexican or if I was from Peruvia. It was always really a trip.
Totally.
Being, Peruvian in the States.
How's your spirit?
My spirit, it's in constant flux. It goes up and it goes down. There's light and there's dark. It's just constantly, it's just about balancing the two out, so that I keep my sanity.
Yeah, I totally feel you on that.
But the art, the art helps me, and that's why I do it. That's why I like to dip my finger in different mediums of artwork, because it really does help me. It just with my anxiety, with just like the all of the pain that our people experience in this time, this day and age and stuff, and what's going on in the world. Art really is a beautiful thing,
Facts. I totally agree with you on that. To start the interview, I would like to offer you to take a deep breath with me. This interview may get a bit heavy, and I want to make sure I'm able to hold space for those feelings as well. Ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Take a deep breath. Okay, let's start. Let's go back to your parents' story. Who are they? Where are they from?
So, my mother is originally from Los Angeles. Her family comes from Texas, and that's where my the Blackfoot Indian side of me comes from, also known as Siksika tribe. Um, and that culture has been it has played a huge role in everything that I do, and it has given me the darkness in my skin, so it's everything. And she's a wonderful woman. She's an attorney, so I've been blessed to be around a woman with such a great, powerful mind, that has always, who is also an artist, and that has always encouraged me to do art and create and just do whatever I wanted to do, whatever I set my sights on. She wanted me to do that. And I love her for that. She's constantly inspiring me to this day. And my father, who is Peruvian, he is from Callao, Peru, which is in particular Ica, La Punta, like right there at the port, the point, the port where they would import and export products, slaves,
The
like
fisherman port.
yeah, fisherman port. It's a lot of culture and history there. So much, so much history. And then I have some family that's from Puno as well. So it's but Callao in particular is a huge inspiration for me, and just the Peruvian culture, of course, is like, I mean, it's so rich. It's everything, and I'm so blessed to have a father that is from such a powerful country. I mean, our people and our culture is immense. It's there's nothing like it.
For real.
And yeah, and he was a soccer player, professional soccer player, and he played. Yeah. So he played. Yeah, so like the soccer culture is like ingrained in me, even though I never played, but I like totally love it and appreciate
I
it.
know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean.
It's like, oh my god, everything soccer and salsa. Like that's
Facts.
it. Like,
Facts.
So,
Y'all don't want me to play soccer out there. I will fall and break a leg. I will fall and break a leg.
Yo, like I feel you. I so feel you. But it's a beautiful sport, and our team is doing so awesome. They did so amazingly this year. So I'm like, it's just, I'm
Yo,
proud.
facts. I feel like I be
so
praying
proud.
for them, and I'm like, listen, Cholitos, y'all gotta do it this time. Like, I know the history of y'all, and y'all need to have confidence in yourself. Don't analyze shit, because y'all know how y'all be. You guys are good for like one game, and then a la mierda se va todo. Like,
I know. They just get excited. I think they just get really excited, and I mean, you can't blame them, because
no,
it's like,
for real.
man,
It's been how long since they had like a championship or something?
Mad long. It's been mad long, like a really long time.
Yeah, as old as
so
me,
I'm
like
proud.
30-something years or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, and God bless this new coach, El Argentino.
He's so patient.
He's so cool.
He is so cool. Patient. He looked like he played no games.
Right? Yeah, he seems cool. He's cool. He created a really dope energy on the team. You could tell.
Yes.
Yeah. You
so, let's talk about your dad, since he's
of course,
the immigrant.
Yeah.
What was his life
he has
like?
a dope. Oh man, he has a trippy story. So growing up, my family, we had a farm actually out in Peru. And my grandfather, my great grandparents, they ran this farm, and they would go. I can't remember the city that the main farm was in, but they lived in Callao, because they were, doing the export import thing, But I have to ask him what the city was where the actual farm was in. But but yeah, so they were, living there back in the how old was my dad? Probably like the 60s, 70s, that time period. So it had started. They were living good. They were living really good. Like they owned a lot of land and stuff. My family was very, very well off, and they gave a lot of people a lot of jobs in that area, which was really beautiful. My great grandma was like, she was awesome. She really ran things quite a bit, especially after my grandfather died. But in particular, after my grandfather died, that's when things kind of started going south, and there was crazy issues with the country, and they had to sell everything and just like dip. Like they just my grandma just had to take over and just like send the family over to the States, because it just started getting really bad, and so, my dad ended up, like, they came over illegally,
Yeah.
and went through, like, Mexico, and, like, it was, like, super difficult, scary, sketchy, ended up getting, like, caught all along the way and almost getting deported back. I think he actually did get deported back, and then ended up being able to come back because he got into school, went to college in LA. What is it? I think it was, God, I can't even remember, like East LA, I think, university. And so, like, he was playing soccer there, and so they were like, they helped with that process of him getting his citizenship. Well, they helped him get the visa to come over, and to stay in the States and play and live out here. And then once he graduated college and started working out here, he became a social worker and started working in the regional centers with developmentally disabled people, and then working in those types of homes. He ended up meeting my mother, who was also she worked in the same field, helping. She was advocating for patients that were developmentally disabled that were being treated poorly, in living situations. And my mother, being an attorney, she helped him get a green card.
Wow.
So yeah, so it was like a really awesome union, right there. And they fell in love, and that's pretty much all she wrote, essentially. When it came.
No, continue.
Oh yeah, no, that was pretty much, that was the story, and then and they were together for a while, and then they split up and got remarried, and now, like, I have a beautiful half sister who's Armenian and Peruvian.
Wow.
And yeah, so dope. I love her to death, and she's doing some awesome stuff. And I create art with her. I use her as my muse quite a bit too, in a lot of my artwork and some of my films and stuff. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty much the story.
Has your father ever spoken to you about, his experience once he got here?
Yeah, he has. He told me quite a bit. He definitely had quite a time, similar to me. Nobody knew what Peru was or what a Peruvian was, and they just kind of categorized him as a Mexican, and immediately put him in ESL and all of those, like, really typical types of classes and things. And he experienced a lot of, honestly, I feel like he kind of had it a little better off because he played sports and he was good at them, so I feel like a lot of those, like, athletes got kind of they got a little bit more help. You know what I mean? And they got a lot more, like, attention, I feel like. It's because they were more valuable to a certain degree, but like I feel like now that he's older and he's in the workforce and he's like working with you know, like the man, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
now I feel like he experiences quite a bit of discrimination in the workforce, you know, just being from another country
Mm-hmm.
and uh, um, just not being white. You know what I
Yo,
mean? Like,
yeah.
like that's literally like it. You know, it really it affects you. It really truly does.
Yeah, I feel
And,
like times have gotten like a lot worse. At
oh
least
yeah, they have.
before, like people were quieter about it.
Mhm.
But now
Mhm.
it's just like all out in the open and people think that
Mhm.
they can say whatever the hell they want.
Mhm.
And then it's
Mhm.
like now
It's like Jim Crow. Like.
yeah, now you're like your eyes are like open to like
Mhm.
damn, like this is what discrimination feels like. Even though
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
maybe you might have not experienced it directly first immigrating, but
Mhm.
now it's
Mhm.
just like fuck, it's really like rampant.
No, it's intense. It's really, really, really intense now. You know, and living honestly it's so funny, and I have this conversation quite a bit with a lot of my friends because a lot of my friends are not even from LA. I like to like I like to be cultured. I like to have know people from all over, you know, so that I can get different perspectives of life, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because just being in one spot, you're just going to be closed minded. So I always tell my friends, I'm like, yo, like, people really think that LA is very, like, liberal and free, and it is to a certain degree, but it is so conservative. It is like, oh my God, like, you know, because, like, versus, like, let's say, if we're comparing LA to New York. New York, it's like you have all these different, this melting pot of people, but you guys are all like taking the train, you guys all have to interact with one another, like no matter
Yeah.
what. You guys are
Yeah.
all like black, white, Latino, Asian, whatever. You guys are coming in contact with one another, whether you like it or not. You know, out here, you know, it's like it's so spread out. Everybody's in their little areas. So if you don't want to see this person, you don't want to see that person, you don't have to, you know. And like when people overlap and they go into certain areas, you stand out, you know. And people are like what are you doing here, you know. It I experience quite a bit of racism on a daily basis in LA. I'm really not gonna lie.
Damn.
Yeah, I experience it quite a bit, and so do my other like brown brothers and sisters. Like we all do. It's pretty bad. I'm really not gonna lie. I'm not gonna sugarcoat the shit anymore. Like it's.
That's crazy. Yo, that's
Mhm.
crazy because me and my girlfriend, we've been talking about wanting to move out to LA and create community over there because it's
Mhm. Mhm.
more of a there's more Latinos like out there
Mhm.
because we're
See,
always
no, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. Like, cause, and this is another thing, and I want to say this before I forget it, cause the last time I had an interview, I forgot to speak on this, and it's not just racism that's coming from white people. It's internalized racism as well. It's coming from Latinos. It's coming from Black people.
yo.
It's bad. Like I'll go like that's why I love Miami though, because you walk into Miami, everybody's gonna speak to you in Spanish. They're gonna like off top. They don't even have to ask you. Here, you walk into a Latin-owned grocery or something, a grocery store. You speak to them, and especially being like me, I'm darker. I'm a darker Latina, you know. So if I speak to somebody in Spanish, they're not gonna respond back to me in Spanish. They will respond back in English.
Mm,
Like they won't give me the respect, you know. And I'm just like, what? Like I experienced this on a constantly, like
damn.
ever since I was little. And I'm like, wow, like I'm not Latina enough, I'm not Black enough. Like it's like what's happening, you know?
I totally feel you on that. So then let's
You
talk
know?
about your experience as a first generation.
Yeah, hell yeah.
So how was it? How was it for you? Because I mean, like you said, your dad was here. to go to school. So I
Yeah.
imagine, like, I'm guessing he like
So
learned
I'm
English
technically,
and stuff like that.
yeah, so I'm technically kind of, yeah, kind of second generation,
Okay,
kind
yes.
of, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so he learned English, going to school here and stuff like that. But me growing up, and I was definitely blessed to go to really really nice schools. I went to private schools, but they were all predominantly white, and like in particular in high school, I went to a really awesome school. It's very well known out here in LA. A lot of like little rich kids go there, and like from industry kids and stuff. But like I was literally the only brown girl to graduate my graduating year. Like
Wow.
in my graduating class, like and it was like it was bugged out, nobody, like going back to what we were talking about earlier, like of course nobody knew what Peru was, and it's like they just thought I was Mexican, and I experienced a lot of just like also like black racism, like, oh, like, do you eat fried chicken and waffles, and like I've been called nigga, and like it's just like, what, like it's just it growing up in that type of in LA, and as a person of mixed cultures, it was not easy. It has not been easy, and like dealing with like the hair culture, and and that, and like people not understanding my hair texture, and people just touching my hair when they without asking, and it was always interesting. It was always a lot of dealing with a lot of ignorance, and having to put people on. So I feel like once I was able to really like accept who I was and stop fighting against that, and like stop trying to fit into be to this like white world, and like realize like, yo, this is who I am. Like I'm Blackfoot, I'm Peruvian, I have dark skin, like my hair is this texture, like these are the roots that I come from. I finally accepted that, and I used art to teach people. Like that's what I want to do. That's what I do with my music, with my painting, with my photography. Like I'm always trying to put my culture on the map, so people don't, there's no excuse. You can't be ignorant when you talk to me anymore.
Facts.
I'm teaching you, so it's like take that in, take it in, and receive that, so that's pretty much, hopefully, that like
So
that.
I mean, how did the lack of representation make you feel? Like how did you move through life like that?
Mm, well, I always, it definitely, the lack of representation definitely makes you feel, you lose confidence. You don't have confidence, so growing up, like my self-esteem was really low, I feel like, and you always try to like straighten your hair and fit into what was being represented, what was being, viewed as beautiful, so that growing up, that was always, it was always hard. It was always really sad and very lonely, you know, very, very lonely, not having anyone to relate to, it's like, and then I'm sure you experienced this too, like whenever you would meet a Peruvian person, it's like, oh my God, like your family, like I can't believe it,
Yeah.
and like not having that feeling, or like, like being able to relate to people, or things, or things that are movies, music, it was hard, it was sad, it was like, okay, is something wrong with me, like what's the problem, you know? Um, but like I said, as I got older and I became more secure in my culture and myself, I just decided to take that role and become the representation.
Yo, facts. I definitely feel you on that. Especially looking, mixed. Even with me, like meeting Peruvians, they didn't even believe me that I was Peruvian. And that was the most hurtful part, because it's like you're either a super light-skinned Peruvian or you are an indigenous Peruvian. So you're like brown, but then you also look como un indio, like indigenous. Yep. But then the light-skinned Peruvians, they still look indigenous, but they're really light-skinned, almost white passing. And then there's me, who's like brown, but I look indigenous, but then I have curly hair.
Exactly.
So there was like no representation for me.
None.
And then my mother, her mother was a Black Peruvian. Her father, an indigenous Peruvian. And my mom came out, how a mixed kid would look. She's light skin, very curly hair. Like she can't deny her blackness, because I can just throw water at her and her hair will curl back up.
Okay, exactly.
Like, she can't deny that. And then my dad, he looks like a Black Peruvian, but his mom is indigenous.
Interesting.
And he doesn't have that curly hair. He has straight hair.
Yeah, see, that's like my dad. Like, my dad is a lighter-skinned, indigenous-looking man, but with straight hair. But his dad is a dark-skinned Peruvian, and his mom was Italian Peruvian.
Wow.
So it's like, yeah. So I'm like, what?
Yo, yeah. I didn't know, like, even when my parents got here, thank God that his friends, my dad's friends from his neighborhood, and he's from Callao too, they all we all lived within the same block in South Jamaica.
Yo, that's fire.
And that's pretty much the only connection that I had to Peru, because outside of that, my neighborhood was all Black. So I know more about Black culture than I know about Latino culture. The only Latino culture is me cleaning to salsa on the weekends.
Ooh, wow. That's deep.
Yeah. We listen to everything. So I can't say, like how most, like right here in Queens, if you want to go to a Latino neighborhood, you go to Jackson Heights.
Okay.
There is pretty much everyone, Mexicans, Ecuadorians, Salvadorians, de todo, like de todo, right? But I didn't grow up like that. Where they can be like, yeah, because I remember salsa did this for me, salsa did that. And I'm like, well, I listened to the Jackson 5. And I listened to James Brown, so I know about James Brown, but I don't know who this other salsa person is unless I listen to it los sábados, And then there was Risas y Salsa. I don't know if you ever remember watching that, or if your dad has ever watched Risas y Salsa.
Yeah, I've never heard of that, actually.
So Risas y Salsa, along with Laura in America, were the only representation that Peru had in the media. With Risas y Salsas, they are extremely problematic. You can see the different types of like Peruvians, but when it came down to the representation of indigenous Peruvians and Black Peruvians, there was definitely a lot of blackface.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of blackface. They were very raggedy looking. They did not depict them unless they were in a band playing the cajones.
Wow.
And for the indigenous, pretty much we had this drag queen by the name of La India Chabuca or something like that.
Wow.
And it was almost comical. And I'm just like, okay. I didn't really know how to feel about it. But
Mm.
then when they would do like the indigenous skits, that definitely poor and ignorant.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
I have to see this. I've never heard of it. That's deep.
Risas y salsas. Although you had that comedy, which I'm like grateful for, but the underlining problem was the colorism and
It's crazy how that cross that image of black and brown people, black and indigenous people. To me, though, black is indigenous as well. Those are the Aboriginal people of everywhere. But it's funny how the way that they're depicted is so similar across all countries, and how, they are just like so negatively looked down upon.
yeah.
And that's the image that they're constantly trying to put out there to the masses. And to me, I feel like when people try to concentrate on that, they're trying to weaken a strong people.
Yep.
And it's like,
Yeah,
gosh.
it was definitely very hard for me to
Mm,
even identify. It was almost like I did not want to be Peruvian because
mm.
that is like all I saw. And then the fact that,
Whoa.
people think that you're Mexican, and I would get so upset
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
not only did the US do a great job at demoralizing Mexicans,
Yep. Yep.
they made them look lazy. They made
Yep.
them look like criminals. And it was like, I
Yep.
did not want to identify that. But the reality is that Mexicans are the most hardworking people ever.
They truly are.
You know,
Truly.
they really, really are. And it was like you either had to be Mexican, Black, or Puerto Rican.
Mm,
And
mm.
since nobody
Fact.
ever, not even Peruvians, believed that I was Peruvian, so I would say I was Puerto Rican.
Wow.
I would say I was Puerto Rican because I brown, curly hair. And
Mm.
since I didn't really look Mexican, it was like a lot easier for people to believe that that is what I was.
To just understand that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yep. So I want to also ask you because, art is definitely a big part of who you are
Mm.
and who you've become. How did you get into art?
Well, going back to my mother, my mother being an artist, she always um, painted and was sculpting something. So she always encouraged me to paint, and she gave me my first camera, she gave me my first brush, my first canvas, everything. So I actually started off painting at 3. I have a painting. I have some paintings actually from back then, and um, I ever since then I just like I just have never stopped. I continued on and went to art schools my whole life, and I've never stopped. I've just kept just kept
Yeah,
going and experimenting
that's
and seeing
beautiful.
where it took me.
How has your art helped you?
Oh my gosh, it has healed me through so much. Almost every art piece, every photo I take, every song that I make is truly me trying to heal myself from something in particular, like some type of emotion, some type of traumatic situation that may have happened to me, a breakup, anything. And it's me just channeling that energy into something else and trying to heal myself and trying to heal that pain that I'm feeling through whatever I've created. So it has been very, very extraordinarily healing, and it has helped me. It has helped me to teach others. It has helped me to meet so many other people, amazing amazing people like you and other people that I have met in the past years, that are Peruvian, that are Black, that are white, that are Asian. It has been a a a beautiful network and a universal language, if you will, that has allowed me to connect and cross lines that I probably would have never have crossed.
Yeah.
And it is to me, it's the true history of the world. I don't really too much go by what's written in books. I go by what is written in stone. And
Yeah.
that is our history. Art is the history of the world. That's why they try to take it out of public schools, because
No,
they don't want
definitely.
Black and brown people to know about themselves.
That's
That
so
is it.
true.
That is it.
That is
They don't want them to
definitely.
know their power. They don't want them to know that they were emperors and rulers and had empires and, be covered in gold. That they don't want us to have these images of ourselves. They want us to have the images like in risas y salsas,
Yo,
in
for
rags
real,
and
for
lazy.
real.
That's how they want us to see ourselves, and others to see us that way, so that they feel comfortable to treat us like dogs.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it's so.
That's definitely so true. Like sometimes I get like really, like angry when I see things like even from like my own people and how,
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know, xenophobic and racist we are, because like when I end up going to like a museum, the first thing that I do is I check out the indigenous exhibits from like
Yes.
different countries, and then I start getting like nostalgia and very like emotional, because when I get to the Incas, I'm just
Mhm.
there like thinking like, damn, like I wonder if the stuff that happened to them didn't happen and they were
Mm.
still living, not living to
Mhm.
this day, like how different would our world be?
Mm. It would be, wow. That is a beautiful thought, honestly, and it would be. I can't even imagine it. I couldn't even imagine it would be so next level.
Yeah,
Honestly,
because like,
honestly,
yo, one
like.
of the constant conversations that me and my girlfriend we get into is,
Mhm.
like slavery
Mm.
and the mass destruction of indigenous people.
Yes.
And she said something that like resonated with me. The reason why slavery worked was because it didn't work with the indigenous people.
Mm.
When the colonizers came over, they brought along
No,
their
that's
diseases.
true.
They
That's true.
Yep, they brought along their diseases, they brought
Mhm.
along, their Bible and all that, and that was completely forced. But the
Mhm.
indigenous people fought back,
Mhm. They
and
did. That's
they
very
end
true.
up, dying not just from like wars, but from diseases.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they tried that same shit again with slavery. And the reason why that worked, it was like, okay, now we have vaccines, or we have this is how we end up molding them
Mm.
into obeying what we need
Yep.
them to do, because we've learned our lesson and it didn't work this way.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
Yeah, and now I'm just like, I start to think like, now what if none of that shit ever happened? Would we be as mixed as we are? Would we be elitist when it came to our tribes?
Mm. Mm.
Would we be as open minded, or would we be more closed off to preserve the
Mm.
identity?
Interesting. That is a truly interesting question to pose, because it probably would be a combination, just like it is now. There would probably be a group of people that truly were trying to hang on and keep the bloodline as pure as possible. And I'm sure there are people that couldn't help but fall in love with somebody else, you
Yeah.
know,
No.
like, you know, but who knows how how it would affect the people though then, because the standards, the way of living, the connection to the earth that we had was so much deeper then. You know, it might have had a different reaction as a whole versus now, you know, because now we are completely disconnected to the Most High and nature and the cosmos in the way that we were, and I feel like that has an effect on us as a people and why we are in such shit, basically.
Facts.
You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of gone to like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Low key, it's just we're just doing just all types of ratchetness,
Yeah.
you know, and like we've just completely forgotten who we are. We've
Yeah.
just completely forgotten, you know, and that. So I feel like I hope that if that never happened, if we never were colonized, that we would still remember, you know,
Yeah.
and still be those strong, powerful people that we once were, you know.
Yeah. So, let's talk about your feature at Alegría Peruanex. How was that for you?
Oh man, that was a powerful space to be in. You know, going back to not ever, you know, really having representation or ever really just being in an environment where you would meet other Peruvians that weren't your family members or that were your age. You know, it was dope to be in a space where of other women, uh, men that were Peruvian. You know, it was just like, wow, it was so powerful that we're just bringing themselves and bringing their stories to that environment, and just like building with Connie and hearing her out and seeing her vision and her work it was a beautiful thing. It was truly a beautiful thing, and being able to connect and create those friendships was unforgettable. That is something that is going to change our community. I think that's
Yo,
gonna blow
facts.
like major.
Facts.
Connie is a groundbreaking woman, truly.
No,
She really truly
definitely.
is.
Like I've told her time and time again that Alegría Peruanex definitely changed my life.
It did mine too.
It definitely
Absolutely.
changed my life. Even
Mhm.
seeing the the flyer and who she featured on
Yes.
the
Yes.
flyer,
Yes.
it like brought me to tears because I saw my grandma at that flyer.
Mm.
In that flyer,
Mm.
I remembered how much my grandma spoke about, not wanting to identify as being a black woman. And
Mm.
it like made me cry because I'm like, yo, that's my grandma
Mm. Mm.
accepting
Mm.
who she was,
Mm.
and it also like helped me understand why my grandma had the view on herself as she
Mm.
did, because if the US was horrible towards black people during the Jim Crow era, I can only imagine how it was in a third world country.
Oh man.
And the things that she had to see and the things she had to endure, of course she's going
Mhm.
to say que hay que levantar la raza and you
Yeah.
needed to
Yeah.
be with like someone lighter, and it was just mostly because she did not want
She's
us
trying to
to go through
survive.
the same thing.
She was
Yeah.
trying to survive.
Yep.
Yep.
So Alegría Peronex definitely helped me understand my grandma a lot more,
Mm. Mm.
you know?
That's beautiful and powerful.
Yep. Um,
It truly is.
Looking back at everything that, you've been through, going
Mhm.
into this elitist school and
Mhm.
finding
Mhm.
yourself, would you change anything?
Oh no, not for a second. Not for a second. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't be appreciative of where I am right now, and I don't have a lot, I don't have a lot right now. I am definitely blessed. I am blessed to have a roof over my head, a bed that I sleep in, money in my pocket. I am blessed in that, on that level. But it's like, I feel like if I hadn't, I wouldn't love myself. I wouldn't love myself. I wouldn't love this moment. I wouldn't be able to have this conversation with you. I just wouldn't be the person that I am right now, and I wouldn't have met the people that I have met. I wouldn't have created the things that I have created. And I am honored to have been able to have made it through some of the bullshit and the beautiful, and I feel like that in itself is a representation of the people that I come from, and the people that you come from.
Yeah.
If I can be right here, right now, and I've gone through what I've gone through, like, that should make you feel good. And hearing your story makes me feel good. I'm like, okay, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
I'm not alone. And when I thought I was, and I'm not. And so I'm thankful for all of those trials and tribulations that I experienced. I truly am.
I love that answer. I love that. I definitely feel the same way. All right, guys, it's time for that One Piece, not to be confused with that wildly popular anime that we all know and love. This is that one piece of advice you would give to a younger you. Yup. So let's start with you, Bianca. What piece of advice would you give to a younger you?
Oh, be nice. Be nice to young Bianca. Be nice. Don't be so hard on her. That's what I would say. Don't be so hard, because she's a lot cooler and confident than she thought she was, and she has a lot more to offer than she thought. And that's probably what I would say. Just keep your head high and don't let anybody stop you.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for this space and this opportunity and being able to talk to you and hear your story. And this platform that you're creating is beautiful. It's powerful. I am blessed to know you and to have been a part of it, truly. Like, this was very healing for me today. I didn't even know what I was going to expect, coming into it at all. And but this was very, very healing for me, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful to you.
Yo, thank you so much for saying that, because last night I was just talking to Kat Lasso about this, and I was like, girl, like, I'm going through like imposter syndrome, and I get like that every time I interview someone. And I start to say like these things to myself, like, I'm not good enough. What are you doing? I hate the sound of my voice. Who do you think you are? You didn't go to college for this. Like, no one is going to listen to you. And then I'm just like, you need to relax and just do what you gotta do. Like, I talk to myself like, you are interviewing your friend. Relax.
And just know that you're not the only one that goes through those processes either. Like, me too. Anytime I do something, I literally have a straight nervous breakdown. Like, I was talking to Connie about this too. She was like, girl, I have been going through it. Like, that is, and to me, those are signs that you're a true artist. You're truly doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Thank you.
Because it's like, you're not so, you're humble, you're humble, and but you're still, you want it to be right, and you want to get your voice across, and like, so don't think that you're not doing that, because you're dope. Like, what you're doing is awesome, and like, having those thoughts that's so normal, but just know in the end, you're gonna kill it, and your voice sounds popping.
Thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate that.
Of
So,
course.
guys, at this time, I'd like to highlight some dope people who are doing amazing work in our communities. Let's give a big year to Amy Kichis, founder of Veggie Mijas. Amy Kichis graduated from Syracuse University with a bachelor degree in women's and gender studies, while minoring in sociology in 2017. Throughout her college career, she has been known for her commitment to continuously bring awareness to the Latinx community and fighting against gender violence, sexual assault, gender and sexual inequality, queer discrimination, and racial issues. After finishing her degree, Amy has worked with Planned Parenthood of New York City and has done educational work in detention centers against domestic violence, nonprofit organizations, and other grassroots community outreach work, specifically with the Afro-Latinx and Latinx community. Amy also articulates theories and personal experiences into writing pieces that cover various topics such as whiteness, radical self-love for brown girls, veganism and brownness, mental disabilities in the Latinx household, Latinx body issues, borderland and identity, and radical queer love. Her work has been recognized by numerous platforms such as ID, Bon Appetit Magazine, Veg News, Bustle, and has written for Self Magazine and other platforms. Amy has gained the opportunity to voice her work beyond social media. She has had the chance to be invited to numerous universities such as University of California, Santa Barbara, Southern Connecticut State University, Purchase College, and NYU. Topics can range from mental health, sexual assault, and food justice, specifically with her founding collective, Veggie Mijas, a women of color collective that highlights the importance of veganism through the lens of those marginalized identities. Amy is currently in NYU receiving her master's degree in global affairs, concentrating on global gender studies. You can find Amy on IG under I'm Secretly a Cat and Veggie Mijas. Okay, guys, we've reached the end of this episode, but before I bid you all adieu, I want to pose a question to you all, mi gente. This week, I want to ask, oye, mi gente, when was the last time you can remember feeling totally at peace? Piénsalo. Feel free to leave your insight and answers in the comment and review sections. Please, I really want to know your answers. I want to give a big thank you to Bianca for everything she's doing with her art. It's extremely refreshing to see people who look like me accomplishing great things. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alright, guys, this is it for this week's episode. Remember to follow us at OMG Podcast on IG. We're available on all your favorite streaming platforms. And be sure to subscribe and leave us all a comment in the review section. Also follow at Deacon Media on IG. And if you want to know more about the Deacon Media Network and what we do, you can check out the entire Deacon Media family on deaconmedia.com. And you can follow Bianca at, give us her information.
At PeruvianDurags. Follow me on IG at PeruvianDurags, at PeruvianDurags with a Z on Twitter, and then all my music is streaming on all platforms.
You heard it here, guys. Ciao.